All right. Welcome back to Harmonize Your Life, Conversations on Self-Care for Women of Color podcast with your host, Dr. Tony G. Alvarado. I am so glad to invite you back into this space, into this podcast community, so that we can continue our conversation on financial wellness. We are still in the month of April, and we are getting ready to have a conversation with our next guest for this month as we talk more, dig in a little deeper around the subject of financial wellness. You already know April is Financial Literacy Month, and financial wellness is a part of the wellness wheel and what it means to live a lifestyle of self-care, health, wellness, harmony, fitness, all the things that make for a harmonious life. As I said earlier in one of our earlier conversations on financial wellness, there is no aspect of money that does not touch our lives. And so it is so important that if we're going to be well, if we're going to practice self-care, it must include how we manage money and how we build wealth for the future. Okay. And so I want to bring in our next guest, and we'll be ready for our next podcast conversation, our next guest, right after this. All right, here we go. We're ready. I want to welcome to our podcast community another new voice. This month, we've had two new voices to the podcast. We have Brandy Gamble the first 2 weeks of the month, and now closing out the month with us is Mia Hawkins. Yes, Mia Hawkins serves as the Chief Financial Officer of Voices of Faith Church, headquartered here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. She is responsible for overseeing the headquarters, operating and financial functions, including accounting, budgeting, forecasting, and analysis of the ministry's nonprofit and for-profit entities for its 6 locations. Wow, 6 locations. She is also responsible for the daily operations of the church, of the headquarters church. She has been instrumental in implementing strategies that have resulted in significant cost savings and revenue growth. As a woman of excellence, Mia serves as the chief owner of Mia Hawkins and Company, or Mia Hawkins and Co., where she coaches rising entrepreneurs to effectively operate successful businesses and empower them to succeed in their own careers. She is known for her innovative ideas and her ability to turn visions into reality. Mia is an ordained elder and a leader in religious administration, where she provides ministry leaders across the country with the tools and resources for successful religious operations. Her love for children, passion for finance has led her to the creation of financial literacy courses for adults and children. Through the years, Mia has trained over 20 protege that have secured college and professional career opportunities in finance, where many have become successful business owners. Mia obtained her Bachelor of Science in Accounting from Louisiana State University, where she later went on to work for several Fortune 500 companies. Throughout her career, she successfully guided companies through periods of rapid expansion and acquisition. Mia is the proud wife of Aaron Hawkins Jr., where together they teach marriage courses at seminars and forums. They share 2 adult children, a daughter-in-law, 2 handsome grandsons, and the Hawkins currently reside in metropolitan Atlanta, Georgia. Will you all welcome with me our next guest on the Harmonize Your Life podcast, a new voice to our podcast community, Mia Hawkins. Welcome, Mia.
Thank you, Dr. Tony. I am so glad to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being available. I know how busy you are.
Yes, yes, but it's nothing like coming. My passion is teaching, financial literacy and helping, our women of color
Mhm.
to find get their lives in order financially. Because again, as you spoke about earlier, it helps us to de-stress when we know how our money works. It works with that wheel of making sure that we're solid and that we're not worrying, because God doesn't want us to worry for sure,
Mhm.
and that we're ready to be fit in our finances and in our everyday life.
I like that. Mia, I've actually connected with you last year. We were both at an event where you spoke on this whole idea of financial wellness. And I knew then that I had to get you on the podcast because I knew that what you were sharing was valuable information and it was something that we needed to hear on the Harmonize Your Life podcast. As you know, I started this podcast in 2020, and the whole idea of the podcast is to make sure that women of color are considering strategies for living a harmonious lifestyle that includes self care, health, wellness strategies and practices. It includes our fitness, our physical fitness, spiritual
Yeah.
life, emotional, mental health, all the things, right? Relationships, nutrition, all the things. And one area that touches all of those areas is our finances, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. For sure it does. It definitely does. Because if we're not financially fit, it's hard to get physically fit, because our minds and mentally fit, because we're stressing and worrying about, how we're not just for today, but tomorrow and the next day. And that's not what the word of God wants us to do, how the Lord wants us to live. He wants us to live, like the word of God said, we can't be lukewarm.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to stand on the word of God. And it's difficult when you feel like I can't make it, through the next day. Where's my next meal coming from? Where are my next dollars going to come from? So we're going to talk about some of that today. How do we get fit in our financial life so that everything else can thrive for us? Doesn't mean that things won't come our way. Doesn't mean that we won't have issues that we still have to resolve. But at least by this point, we know how to do it. The how to's is what helps us.
Yeah. And so, Mia, I like to always start out with a story. If you have share with us where this passion, this work came from for you. Just what inspired you toward this work. Is there a personal story that led you to this work?
There is, there is. So as a kid, I was always interested, and I've always loved math. And so as a child, my mom, I would always say, "Can I write a check? Can I write a?" Back in the day, my parents had checkbooks. We didn't have cards, and
Still,
no
I
cash
just want
app.
you to know I'm still a check writer.
Okay, that's okay. It's okay. It's
But
okay.
you know what? The only place I write checks, guess where? The only place I write checks?
At church.
Church.
Yes,
I
yes. Because for
still,
church, we accept checks.
yeah,
We
yeah,
accept
yeah, we
everything
accept it.
at
But you know what? It's just something about, because I bring my offering envelopes home, right?
Yes.
And so, when I get paid, I love writing that tithe check out, my offerings, and I love leaving home with it already prepared, and then I love lifting it up in the air at church
That's
and putting
right.
it in the
That's
basket.
right.
I just, I give online occasionally, on Cash App or something
Mhm,
spontaneous. We do a spontaneous offering,
mhm.
um or on Wednesday nights when our Bible study is online. So I'll give on Cash App. But Sunday morning, it's something about writing out that check and putting it in. And that's the only place I really write checks. Everything else I do online. But go ahead. You wanted to
No,
write.
no, no. I love it. I love it. We keep it going, but it is, and because it tells me that your mind is already on the Lord and doing what He requires of us, and that's having our tithes and offerings ready. We don't get ready; we stay ready. We're already ready when we get to church. So now it's a form of, because that's a form of worship.
Yeah.
And so you're ready to worship when you have it ready. So that's okay. But as a kid, I always wanted to write the checks. And my mom would let me write the checks, and I'd write them all out. She'd teach me, initially how to write a check. And then from there, she was always real picky about her money. She, my mom was the one that said, if I send you to the store and she gave you $2 or whatever, you went to get a bag of rice or whatever it was, she did not play about her change. You did not come back home and say, oh, by the way, I got a piece of gum or I got something else. She wanted all her change and she meant it. My mom went to McDonald's and they shorted her a penny. She would stay at the drive-through and get her penny. She said, because McDonald's is already rich. And I still say that to this day, because I want my penny. And
I
so
know.
what did that do? That made us accountable for our money, every dollar. Now, my mom didn't teach me anything about budgeting and those kinds of things, but you learned it through osmosis because she had to budget in some form or
Yeah,
another,
she did.
in order
And
to
that idea of she taught you the value of money,
yes.
even in that, you know what I'm saying? Making sure that she kept her pennies.
Yes. She looked like the kids say, she counted her coin.
That's right. She counted her coin. She held on to the bag, right?
Right. She counted her coin. And so with that, I became really, really involved in doing that. And before I knew it, then I would say, can I balance it? Remember you get the statement back from the bank, and on the back, it taught you had your beginning balance and what was left and your ending balance. And I would always go, can I balance your checkbook? Can I balance your checkbook? And my dad had a business. And so he had a trucking business with the dump trucks, and the dirt and things of that nature. So my mom kept up with the books for the business. And my mom was always a saver, but my dad was more of a spender. So if he knew he had money, and we're just going to be a little transparent here, but if my dad knew he had a little extra money, it wasn't that he went and spend it on on stuff, but he would buy things for the business. Oh, I need some new tires, even though he didn't really need new tires. So I need to buy this. I need this for the truck. And those parts were expensive. So what my mom would do, and she would teach me how she did it, her form of savings, she would intentionally misadd for my daddy so that the
So he
bottom
didn't know
line,
he
that
had
the
as
number
much
that he
money as
saw,
he had.
he
Yeah.
had way more than that in the checking account, but she wouldn't let him know, so that because she would say, when emergencies come, you need to be prepared. So
Right,
when he
right.
did get a flat tire or whatever the case may be, she did find the money to take care of that issue. And so my dad never had to worry because she would always make sure that everything was taken care of.
Okay.
And so that's where my history comes from, watching my mom, watching my parents, and her allowing me to participate in the financial process. A lot of times kids don't know about what's going on in the home, and they shouldn't know everything. I'm not saying everything, but how to manage money, how much does this cost? And I knew everything. I knew my mom's mortgage. I knew my mom's, car note when she had a car, whatever it was. I knew what those bills were, but I also was taught to be confidential with everything. So through that, through that process of her teaching me, not knowing that, how I would use it today, it has transpired into Mia Hawkins and Company, teaching and
So you
training.
already had that inclination anyway in you, just as a child, toward money management, accounting, right?
Yes,
This is what you
yes,
ended up
yes,
going into in your field. Okay,
yes,
good, good,
yes.
good, good.
And so how did Mia Hawkins and Co. come about? Well, when I was growing up, and you too as well, I'm sure, we would have company.
Yeah.
And your company was normally your boyfriend or so, can I
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
company
Can I
tonight?
have
Can I have
company? Right,
company come
right.
up? So that's where Mia Hawkins and Company came from, was generated because I have company. And who is my company? My company is young ladies who are out there, who are entrepreneurs and starting their own businesses and doing great things and just need a little direction.
I
And it
love
started with my daughter. My daughter is a hair care specialist. She does short hair. She manages short hair at AJ Style Salon. And with that, it was like I taught her, this is how you do it. You run your business, you get a business license, this is how you operate. And it was from really through her vicariously that Mia Hawkins and Company became what it is today. And she has lots of friends now. My daughter's 26. And she has friends that are young entrepreneurs, have, facial lines, and they're doing so well, And
Mhm.
so I just wanted to be able to be there. And they'll come and say, "Hey, Ma, how you do such and such?" And so they were the ones who really inspired me to
Mhm.
do what I do today, to coach and manage them and teach them how to
That's
run
amazing.
businesses. And so we love it. We
That's
love it.
amazing. That's amazing that our young people, because at similarly, my you interacted with my daughter,
Right.
in preparing, and it was my children in 2020 that got me doing this whole self-care, health and wellness, because they saw me doing it in my own life, and I was talking to my friends about it, and so my children were like, "Ma, you need to do a podcast, Ma." And I had already written a book on self-care, and I already had started doing the self-care retreats, but they were like, Ma, I really believe this is part of your ministry and what God has called you to do. And so it's amazing
Amen.
to see how our children can bring us into, even living out our purpose. And
Exactly,
I love
exactly,
that.
exactly,
I love it.
exactly.
I love it.
And so, and that's what helped me. My son is the same person like yours. Have you doing podcasts? He keeps saying, "You need to do a podcast. You need to do a podcast." And I really want to. Is just get building up the courage to do so. And I can come on
Okay,
yours and do fine,
now
but it's just
you can do it. You can do it. I understand. I do understand the feeling of, do I have something to say? Can I do it? But I just jumped out there and I started actually doing it. I didn't do video at first. I was doing just audio. And
got you.
then I decided to make it a YouTube channel and do video during the pandemic. And so yeah, so I am so excited that you came on and helping us with this whole idea of financial wellness. So talk to us about some of the things that you share with the women in your group around entrepreneurship, ownership, and even those that may be working for corporations or corporate execs, in
Exactly.
how to implement financial strategies, right? That will for wealth building, estate planning, all those kind of things. Just like a thumbnail. We don't have time for a full workshop, but just some
Right,
of the
right,
things
right.
that
That's a whole nother thing we'll
right,
have to
right.
get
Just,
together and do.
just
But yes.
right. So if you can just drop a few nuggets of wisdom that you share.
Yes, yes, ma'am. So first of all, I start with, because people feel like because you're in the corporate arena, and we work at a high level in
Mhm.
corporate. A lot of times we might make good money, but we tend to spend a lot of money and
And
not
it's
know
not how much
little.
money you make, it's
Right.
how much do you get to keep.
Keep,
How much
exactly. How much are you keeping? And
mm-hmm.
so with that level of people, I tell everybody, here's one little nugget that I'm going to teach you today. And I learned this from following a wonderful woman of God, Dr. Lynn. And Lynn always talks about keeping your money in your pocket. And how do you do that? Because everybody should have a business. You
Mm-hmm.
are doing something at some level, Dr. Tony, that you should have a business. And that business, when you set up your business and you set it up properly,
Mm-hmm.
then it affords you opportunities for tax breaks that you never knew that were available to
I'm a
you.
witness. It's the truth.
Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
so then now that 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 car that I bought, I work
Mm-hmm.
in corporate America. So,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta
Mm-hmm.
have that Benz, that S550, or I have to have that G-Wagon or whatever. But guess what? Those vehicles afford you opportunities to deduct when you have a properly established business.
Exactly.
I
Mm-hmm.
have young children, even though I'm working in corporate America, I have 12 years old, I have a 10-year-old, I have a 15-year-old. Guess what? When I establish my business, they can work for me. And the IRS says, because we get nervous with them, the IRS says that I can pay them right now up to $12,000, and all of that money is
Mm-hmm.
tax deductible to me,
Mm-hmm.
which then puts more money back into my pocket
Right.
that I can then save and have money to invest and build wealth for my family and for my children.
And it keeps them, because I'm telling you, with my podcast, all my son, my daughter in love, and my daughter Ariel, who you interacted with,
Yes, ma'am.
my son does with the whole podcast thing. So
Mm-hmm.
he does the video part of editing. My daughter-in-law she manages my YouTube channel.
Right.
My daughter Ariel does a lot of the technical stuff, and I pay them from my business.
Exactly.
Right? And so I get to write that off because I'm paying them. And then I'm employing them. And, they have other jobs, but it's another stream of income for them.
Exactly. And then they have to learn how to use what they are doing. So let's say I work for mom pays me. Now I'm going to get my buddy, because I'm going to establish my business. Now, don't forget, even though mommy's paying me, now I'm going to establish my business so that I can help and raise up others, my friends, my buddies, but I'm paying them to do what I asked them to do. And now I write off, because now I'm an adult, and mom can't take care of me all day, every day. She doesn't still buy me the things she used to do for me a long time ago when I was her responsibility. Now I've become an adult, and I'm adulting, as they say.
Yeah.
And so now I have to run my own business. And so that's what I do. Even my son is the same way. He does all the video and editing for, Voices of Faith. He works there, and then he also does video and editing for himself, and he does it for other companies and other churches. And so he has his own business. And then now that he has his business, he's able to hire others. He can use his children in his business.
Exactly.
And that's up to, like I said, $12,000. He can pay them, and it's a tax write-off for him. And so things of that nature that he can do, and you can do, and others can do, who are listening to this podcast right now. You can do it as well. It's just learning how to establish your business the right way, the way that God ordains, and the way that is acceptable and recognized by the IRS. And once you do that, so set up your LLC, set up your business. And that's what we do.
And have more than one.
Yeah, and you can have several, because you have everybody. We say we need to have different streams of income. Not just one out there working for someone else, but streams of income where we are utilizing our minds and our mindset, that we can go and teach and train others. And that's what you have to do. You have to. That's why people say, I can't find anybody to work anymore. No, you can't, because they out there doing their own thing, and they're learning the how-tos, and so that's from one perspective, Dr. Tony. And then we can just talk about that everyday person that I go to work every day. I come home, I have kids, I have to take care of my children, but I just don't feel like I have enough. We don't have enough coming in. So I always say, you need to know you need to know what I call knowing your numbers.
Okay, know your
numbers. Because medically, don't they tell us, when we're being fit, they tell us to know our numbers.
That's right. Know your blood pressure, know your cholesterol, know your A1C level, know your BMI. Know your numbers.
Right. Know your numbers. Well, guess what? That stands the same in the financial arena of your home. Know your numbers. Don't just know when I get my check that my check is $500, but how did it become $500? Because maybe I made $800. That's my number. 800 is my number. And then I had to give Uncle Sam his, and then I had my benefits coming out, and then I give a little bit to my 401k. So this is all that's deposited into my account, into my bank account, or that I cash. And I need you to be a depositor and not a casher. I need you to deposit your money and not cash your check. Those are two different mindsets. When I deposit, then it sits there for a moment, and I have time to ponder and plan. So I always say, know your numbers.
Be a depositor and not a casher. I love that.
Yes.
Oh, God.
You know how people say, there's some people say, oh,
I'm going to cash my check.
going to
That
cash
means I'm
my
going to
check.
spend it.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Because that means I'm going to spend it.
Exactly. Because when you get that cash in your hand, it's harder to keep account of than
Mhm,
it is when you put it into the bank,
mhm.
and then you have to
And sit down and plan. I love that
exactly,
idea.
exactly
Planning. My
plan it.
husband and I have a ritual, or a habit that we do, a discipline that we do whenever well, our salary and stuff, all that's planned out based on our regular living expenses. But we have other streams of income, and then even when we go out to preach, if we get an honorarium, or gifts, you know what I'm saying? It's people
Right.
part of our
I understand.
income. But when we do that, because that's not a part of our regular budget, we don't live our lives on our itinerant ministry, because that come and go,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
we live our lives on our salary that we make going
Right.
to church, because that's our principal work.
Right.
But as we go out and we have speaking engagements or things like that, or from the other businesses, when revenue come in from those streams, we before we do anything with it, we have already set and talked about a plan that
Yeah.
includes saving, that includes investing,
Yes.
maybe paying off some other debt,
Exactly.
that kind of thing.
Exactly, exactly. Or paying down debt,
Yeah.
And so those are things, so when I say know your numbers, that's knowing your income. And then know your expenses. We still knowing our numbers. We're just rather than our income, now we know our numbers for our expenses and what's going out. How can we adjust? Okay, I don't have enough coming in, I only have very little left at the end of the month, but I have cable,
Mm.
and so there are so
Come on.
many ways now.
Mhm.
We looked at our cable bill. We were paying so much money just for cable.
And we cut it
And,
out. I hear
mm,
you. Mhm.
Fire Stick is $49.99, and that's for the 4K. And if you can't afford the
Because you don't
4K,
watch all those channels anyway, right?
no,
Mhm.
no, you don't.
Mhm.
And so right now, I pay for Wi-Fi and I
Mhm.
pay for my few little streaming channels, and that's it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
some of those are about to be cut out. Why? Because I don't even watch those. You cannot watch that much television. You can't.
Not and be productive.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Then we're not living a full life because we're sedentary.
Right, right, right.
We're sitting
Mhm.
around all day long, and that's what you
Yeah,
talk about on your podcast. We
yeah,
need to
yeah,
be well and
yeah.
fit and moving.
Yes.
So what? I just can't get that much television in for
Mm-mm,
myself. I don't watch it all day.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
But with that, so no, so my thing is, know your numbers, know your income, know your expenses that are going out, and know your bottom line. You know what? Sometimes we've made bad decisions because the Lord didn't do it. We made those decisions. And in those decisions that we made, maybe we've incurred a little too much debt, just a
Mm,
little too much. But
mm,
there are other streams that you can go and partake in and bring in income to offset so that you can get things paid off.
mhm,
And one thing I say is know your debt. Know your debt. Because when you
mhm,
know your debt, you can get it paid off faster because
mhm,
the mindset, our mind, we're talking mental wellness now. Our
mhm,
mindset is I have all this debt. Well, what do? We start with the lowest level of debt. So I
mhm,
have a credit card. That credit card is, might be $500. I have a 500. Let's focus on paying that credit card off first.
mhm,
It
mhm.
might have a lot of interest, but that's okay first right now. Let's pay it off because what does it do? It gets our mind well to know that we can do this thing.
Yeah,
We can get
yeah.
that 500 paid off. Now it's paid off. So guess what? What we were paying on the 500, now we pay on the 1,000 plus what we were already paying on the 1,000.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
we get that paid off. So it's baby steps. It doesn't happen overnight, but when we know our numbers and we know our expenses and we know our debt, we know how to get better, how to
Right.
become better.
I love that. Know our numbers,
Uh-huh.
know our income,
Uh-huh.
know our debt,
Uh-huh.
right?
And know
No,
our,
no, our
you got
expenses,
it. You
and
got
know
it.
our debt. Let me say
There
that
you
again.
go.
Know our numbers, meaning know our income, know
Mm-hmm.
our expenses, and know our debt.
Yes. And
Those,
now we know,
that's just amazing.
look, and now we know what we have to tackle, right?
Right.
And so then we can keep, because it's nothing like being in a place where you don't have enough to take care of what's going on for your daily living. And
Hmm.
that stress of tossing and turning at night and not getting enough rest. You're not well. Then your blood pressure's up, and then your A1C levels are up, and you're trying to figure out why. Because financial wellness equates to health and wellness.
Yes, it does.
It equates. It's just we don't think that it does,
All
but
connected. That's what holistic living is about, right?
right,
Whole,
right.
meaning all the things, right? As they say, all the things that makes for harmonious life. And if one aspect, it's just like, if you bump you hit your or stub your toe, your whole body is gonna hurt. Your whole body
Aching
will feel that.
all over.
You feel it all over. And so when your money is not right, it impacts everything, even your relationships, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And we talk about those expenses. I just hit on one about cable, but think about it, insurance. We become so loyal to the state farms and the progressives shop your insurance.
Yes.
Because
That's
the
good.
minute the minute you have something go wrong, they're going up even more.
Yeah.
Shop it. But when you shop it, see what's out there. Take a chance. Don't be so low. I have friends right now that I say, "Oh, but I've been with State Farms all my life, and what have they done for you lately?"
Because the minute you have something, they want your money, but they don't want to pay.
Oh no, no, no,
They
no.
don't
We
want
just
to pay.
we just had a new roof put on the house, and I
Mhm,
promise you, we're paying for it through the insurance company right now because we
mhm,
had a lot of damage on our roof
mhm.
from a storm that had taken place, and um, they fought me. I had to fight for what was mine.
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
then after I finished fighting you, then you go up on me. And I knew that was going to happen. But I told my husband, no problem. We'll pay it for a short period of time.
Mhm.
But during that time, we're going to shop for somebody who wants our business.
I'm gonna say something else about that insurance piece. I had an experience, even with medical insurance. I had a dental plan, right, and I had to have some dental work done last year. And when the oral surgeon sent in the made the, I guess, what they send in the
They do that pre-certification
yeah, the
on it.
pre-certification,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
They sent that to my insurance company, and so I went on and had the procedure and everything. And so I'm thinking everything was fine, because when I checked out, I paid my portion. What they told me was my portion. Then they said
Right,
they were going to submit the rest to my insurance company. So when I went back for the second part of the procedure, they called me into the office and they was like, Miss Alvarado, we need to talk to you because we're going to need you to pay this portion. And I said, well, no, you told me that was not what we agreed on. You told me, and the girl said to me, she said, we have been fighting with your insurance company to pay this. She said, listen to this. The insurance company, the oral surgeon sent in x-rays and everything. And the insurance company decided that that wasn't a portion of the service that I needed. You're sitting behind the desk with a computer, and you're going to tell the doctor, the oral surgeon, what the patient needs.
right,
So I said, well, what can I do about that? Because I mean, clearly the doctor said this was a part of the procedure. This is what I needed. Sending x-rays on it. She said, I need you to call and push back.
yes,
She said, you call and push back. Then when I left there, I spoke to my dentist because this was the oral surgeon's office. When I spoke to my primary dentist, she told me, and when you call them, tell them that if they don't rectify this, you're going to call your insurance commissioner of Georgia.
right,
She said they're going to change their tune. So when I first called, they was trying to push back and push back. I said, you know what? I said, I pay a deductible. I've never filed a claim with you all. I said, you take my money, but then when it's time to pay, but I said, I'm going to report this to my insurance commissioner. The woman said, hold on 1 minute. Let me get my supervisor.
right.
They came back and guess what they did?
Paid it.
Paid
Right, right. It's the right
it.
use the right buzzword.
And when I spoke back to the oral surgeon's office, she said, Miss Alvarado, you would be surprised how many people just go on and pay, scrape up their money, and like you talking about keeping your coins, right?
Right,
So
right.
this was like 900 and some dollars that had I not just pushed back, I would have had to pay out.
Exactly.
Right. And
Exactly.
so
And
that
now
that saved me 900 some dollars just by advocating for myself.
exactly. And so we have to fight for what we want. Bishop Hawkins did a book, and it's called Fighting for Your Destiny. We have to fight for our destiny. You have to fight for what you want. Don't just give in and say, well, I promise you, I have friends that hear me every day and they said, well, they said, I said, are you going to call or do I need to call? Because you are not
Advocate,
giving them
yeah.
another dollar, not
Yeah.
another dollar. And
Yeah.
so even like I said, it from our cable, from our insurance, there are ways that we can cut our expenses, but we have to know what our expenses are to cut them. I was just talking to another friend of mine, and she was saying, you just said this, that I need to know my income and I need to know, everything coming out. And I had told this company to not deduct from my checking account anymore. I canceled what they were doing. And we talked about it and we said, you know what? She said, I called them and I told them, I don't want this coming out of my account anymore, but they're continuing to do it. I said, then you need to go to your bank and make it stop happening. I said, but you have to know what's coming out. You have to know those expenses in order to fix it. And
Mm.
so today, I think I have a soldier on my hands after I finish talking to her that she's going to go and make sure that this is no longer coming out. You have to own up and you have to control your dollars. It's your money that you've worked hard for that you have to control.
I love that. You have to own up, you have to control your dollars. And I like that too, fighting for your destiny, fight for your money, fight for your coins, right?
Yes. Yes.
Know what's
Right.
going out
Right.
and speak up and advocate for yourself. And can you say something about making like decisions around housing, cars, and things like that? Because sometimes I I just kind of sometimes I wondered, are we making wise decisions even about when you talk about expenses, right?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Right. And so sometimes, like for instance, people go and they look for a car and all they think about is the car. No, but they don't think about the maintenance of the car
Yes.
and what that's going to cost them. Or say housing, you thinking about, you want to live, if it's if you're going to live in a certain part of town, what is it going to take to live there? What is the upkeep on a house in a certain place or whatever? Can you say something about those kind of decisions?
Exactly. And so we have to be financially savvy and don't allow someone else to talk you into something, because that realtor that's selling you a home or the car salesman that's selling you a car, once you sign the dotted line, it's yours, and they're getting their money and they're going on to the next person. So when you make a decision, people tell me all the time, are you going to get a new car? No. For what? I have that same 2010. I told him my car is a 2010. I have an old car and it drives well, and I look good in it. And and I'm going to continue to drive my car until it falls apart.
Because sometimes these things, I call them status symbols,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That we think we have to have, right, to be significant. And yes, I don't want to drive a hoopty. I want a nice car, right? I drive a
A
car,
nice,
but
comfortable
my
car.
car is,
Exactly.
I would never buy a brand new car ever
Never.
again, because it's going to depreciate as soon as you move off the parking lot of the
Yes.
car dealership. So my husband and I, we do some things around cars, but we're fine driving a used car that's nice, right?
Right.
With a
Exactly.
note that's a note,
that you
and
can
like I told
afford.
my husband, I said, my car gonna be paid off in a few years. I said, listen, I don't plan on going nowhere but to the airport, so I ain't never got to have another car.
Matter of fact, if mine not working, I can Uber over there. So, okay, but look, my daughter, for instance, she didn't have credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because she was young, she's young, and she just hadn't established her credit, and so she had purchased a car maybe 2 years ago. She had purchased a car, and she called me the other day. She said, "Ma, I think I want to get another car." I said, "Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your new car." She said, "Well, I always wanted a black car, and I got the white one because that was all I could get at the time." And because she had no credit, her credit had not been established 2.5 years ago, her interest rate was much higher. So I
Mm-hmm.
told her, I said, okay, so we know your truck is a business expense. We do know that. But just because it's a business expense does not mean that you have to get a new vehicle every 2 years. I said, but I'm trying to work with you and be on your team for this one. And I was able to do that because her
Mm-hmm.
interest rate had come pretty
Mm-hmm.
much down
Talk about that,
three,
interest rates, all of
mhm,
that. Mm-hmm.
3 points. And so as we talked about it, her note at the end of the day was going to increase by about $80 a month. I said, but can you afford $80 a month? Are you doing everything that we've talked about? Can you afford 80 additional dollars? And I knew that she could, but I wanted her to tell me and think about it herself. And she said that she could. I said, but there are other ways we can reduce, because now what? Because you have a newer car, you don't have the maintenance that you had on the other one.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
don't have the
Mm-hmm.
expenses because now it's time to buy new tires. So we
Mm-hmm.
can balance it out and make this work for you. I said, but my thing with her was, this is your last car until it falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? She said, I got you. Okay, then
Mm-hmm.
we can agree to do this. But even when you get a car, I personally never buy new. I
Mm-mm.
just don't.
Mm-mm.
It's 2 years or more older
Mm-hmm.
works for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy new, but sometimes I do get it that because of credit limit, credit your credit, and we'll talk about that too if we have to, if we have time. If not this time, we'll on another show. But sometimes it's easier for them to get you into a newer car than an older car. So those are things you have to look at as well. But my key, but again, when we say know our numbers, when you go to buy that car, know your numbers. Have done your homework to know, if I buy a new car, I'm here. If I buy an older car, this is where I'm going to be. And hey, is because I have my business, is a lease an option for me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, those are all kinds of things that you can look at. But some people are hopping to a lease, Dr. Alvarado, and because the note may be lower. However, they don't think about the mileage and the repercussions on the back end.
Exactly.
That still cost you even more money. So it's little things that we have to think about. And that's why we say
Look at the whole picture.
the big picture of
Mhm.
everything, and
Mhm.
plan and know your numbers. Even know your numbers in your cars, know your numbers in your house. When you're buying a home, you know,
Know your numbers and all this beauty stuff we've been buying.
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Money that we're spending on hair and nails
Hair,
and things, and I'm gonna get my hair done, right? But is it in a way that it's not going to put me out, or in a way that I'm still going to be able to build wealth? You know what I'm saying? And there's some
right,
things
exactly. But I
I,
see, they look beautiful, hair, down their backs. But when you tell me you spent $600 and $700 on
I
some
don't
hair,
understand it. I don't understand it.
honey, I can't
I
get
don't
with it.
understand it. I don't. I just don't. I just don't. I know people can spend their money on what they want to, but I don't understand spending $600 on that and then not having an estate plan. Don't have nothing put away. You can't. If you have an emergency, you got to do a GoFundMe to bury somebody.
No,
I don't
man.
even understand all that. No.
Yes, ma'am. Look, let me tell you something from a hairstylist, my daughter. When I was paying for her hair, oh, she needed the fine. Oh, I need to go stand in line over here. I got to get this hair and that hair. So we were talking the other day, and I said, because one day her hair is long, one day it's short. I get all of that. She said, "Girl, I don't pay for that hair no more because I don't keep it that the same anyway." She said, "Now people pay for hair how they want to pay for hair." She said, "But I don't pay for hair like that." She said, I go get me, now she said, I get decent, good hair, but it's long. You see, my hair is long this week for 2 weeks. And that's why I can do it for 2 weeks. And then I'm short the next 2 weeks, because I don't pay $600 and $700 for hair. And they'll tell you, oh, I got to have me a good wig, honey. I, I, I can't do it. And she's the stylist and she doesn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't do it. And
And,
so
and I just think finding, I know we all want to, there's certain things we want to do.
exactly.
And, I sat with one of my girlfriends because I found I was wasting money getting lashes, right? Me. Because
Right.
I'm sweating in the gym and I'm waking up in the morning and my lashes on my pillow. So I talked to one of my girlfriends and I said, hey, listen, I need you to sit down and show me how to put strips on.
Right.
See, just stuff like that. Now I can afford to go get lashes.
Right.
But I'm like, I need to keep my money. This is wasting my money.
I stopped doing lashes. I'm telling you, we're talking about we on a wellness for women, right? I
Right.
stopped doing lashes because mine would come out. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying you all this money for individual lashes, and then when I take your lashes off, my lashes not here. Houston, we have a problem. I started buying me some strips, watching YouTube, and I learned how to put them on. And when I can't put them on, I got a daughter in love and a daughter that can. So you know what?
I'm trying to tell you.
And
it's
I don't
little things like that
yes.
that save our money. I found I was spending so much money trying to keep lashes on, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. No,
Yes.
I stopped, and it's just that I'm in the pandemic. I went and just started getting a manicure and stuff like that. I just found ways, like you said, to cut back.
Yes, I
And I
promise
can
you.
still look good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have enough clothes in my closet that I am given. So I've gotten to the point now, I don't want to look at all of that anymore. I don't want clutter. I want my closet to look, they have all the little white shirts and the little black shirts and all on the displays. That's what I want my closet to look like. Do I find a few little new pieces? Yes, but I buy practical pieces that last, and I don't have to spend hundreds of dollars, on outfits. Now, should I choose or see something that I know may cost a little extra, that I choose maybe one piece? Yes, I'll do that, every now. But my budget, because I know my numbers, allows for me to do so.
Exactly.
But it's not my whole closet.
Not your whole closet, and it's not something you're doing every day.
Every day, not at all, not at all. So I want our sisters to understand that you can still look. I promise you, I can go put you an outfit together at Walmart and have you clean.
I know that's right.
Clean.
I got a girlfriend, honey. She'd be dressed to the nine, and she'd be like, "Girl, I got this at Walmart. I got this at Target. And I mean, it just." But you're right. It's all in knowing how to do it in a look good on a budget. Look
right,
good,
exactly. And that's the key. And another know your budget. Know your budget. Budget your numbers out. Know what you can and cannot do, because that budget is going, even though we don't like them, nobody likes it because it keeps us in line, it keeps us in order. But set up your budget, and your budget should always include paying yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
We forget about ourselves, and so we feel like we have no money. But when you deposit into the bank and not cash your check, then you have a savings account, and you can say, hey, let me put this over into the savings, and you can have several different savings. I use a feature called, and we don't get paid for this, but I use a feature, used to be called Digit. Now they've changed.
Opportunity.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I love me some Digit. And my husband get in there and he get to yelling at Digit. He say, Digit, you took my money. But the thing about Digit, you can get it back. But now it's Opportune. But that has been a great savings tool for us. But even my daughter, I started her young on Digit. She's like, Mama, Digit came in because maybe she did a little extra hair or whatever the case may be, and Digit saw a little extra coin. Digit goes and get that stuff out of there, which is good. It's a good feature because it takes the money out, and you don't see it back. But if once it's gone, you like, you know what? I'm good. I still can do what I need to do. And before you know it, that little nugget becomes a whole chicken leg, and then that chicken leg becomes the whole chicken, and then before you know it, you have a good savings that maybe you with wellness, maybe you can go to the spa. Maybe
Mhm.
you can get, do something to get your mind right. A nice family vacation doesn't have to be extravagant,
Mhm.
but when you know your numbers, those are the things that you can do. And so it's so important. And I love it. I said, God, look at this. Knowing your numbers is not just knowing it in the medical arena that we think about all the time, but
I
you
love
need to
it.
know your numbers in the financial arena as well.
So we'll wrap up with you sharing when you say know your numbers. Let's talk about that whole credit score.
Yes,
And
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
That credit score is so important. And when you're starting off in life, and you're young, you have to establish credit. And but you have, in order to establish credit, like my children, they had to be trustworthy. And so because my children were trustworthy, I would give them and allow them to be on my credit. So what do
Mhm.
I mean by that? If you're young and
Mhm.
you have parents that are able and have good credit, you might talk to mom and dad and say, hey, can you just put my name and my
On your credit card.
information? And it's
Mhm.
called jumping your credit. And
Mhm.
can you help me jump my credit? And that's what I do for my kids. I'll jump your credit in a minute.
Mhm.
I have a good highest credit score. My
Right,
husband,
right.
before he got this truck that he got,
Mhm.
he wanted. He was in the 800s. So yeah, we'll help you jump your credit, because what does that do? Jumping means it mirrors my credit
Mhm.
to you. So
Mhm.
when I
Mhm.
pay on time, it's like you're paying on time.
Exactly. Mhm. I
You know,
did that with my kid. I did that with my son and my daughter. Mhm.
right, right. So it's called jumping your credit, and you got to
Mhm.
get that credit, get that credit straight. You have to have good credit. Good credit makes it easy for you to make purchases. Like I gave the example about my daughter. So now she went from a 7%, eight. She told me her interest rate was 8%. And now, because she's built her credit over time and pay on time and don't have any blemishes, now
Mhm.
her credit score, because of interest rates going up, but now she was able to get a 5% interest rate, not a credit score, but a five
Because
percent
people
interest.
realize you pay more when you have bad
Yes,
credit. Mhm.
bad credit, you pay more for everything.
Everything.
You pay
Mhm.
more for your insurance, you pay more for your loans, you pay more. You'll be surprised, some of the things that they charge you for, but based on your credit, that if you had good numbers, it wouldn't cost you as much. So your credit score is so important.
Mhm.
And you can do it. It's just a matter of looking at your credit score. Don't be afraid. We stress out because we like, oh my
I
God,
look at mine,
my
honey.
credit.
And you need to look at it and make sure nobody's put anything on it that's not yours.
Exactly. And you can make sure not just that it's not yours, but that you haven't paid it off, or
Mhm.
someone else has, gotten credit in, like you said, not yours, in your name,
Mhm.
or it could be a dispute that you have, that I didn't order this, they're charging me for it. So you can dispute those things, and the creditors, the credit companies, your experience and your
Mhm. Mhm.
um, those guys,
Equifax and yeah.
yeah, Equifax and those guys, they will write up your dispute and remove it while you're in the dispute mode.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, so even when your creditors change, let's say you get a credit card,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
you see another company is offering a credit
Mhm.
card with no interest for 12 months, and you
Right.
change those balances for
Mhm.
that short period of time between you paying off one and going to the other, your numbers jump. So watch what you do and watch your credit at the same time, mirror them. And
Mhm.
you'll learn how, without a person like me in your life, if you don't have that I can come and say, hey, let's look at your credit. Let's move this. Let's take
Mhm.
this off. Let's pay this off. Let's do this. Let's write these people. If you don't have that person, just mirror your credit and look at it. And you'll learn what made it go up, what made it go down, and do more of what made it go up and do less of what made it go down. Because credit, there's a happy medium. And even though it's a must have, it's also one of those things that can really wreck your nerves if you don't know how to manage your credit and manage your credit score. So I always suggest to people, watch your credit, don't ignore it, because what you may think is bad may not be bad. There
Mm-hmm.
might be little things that we can do to help you to get your credit straight.
Wow.
So credit is important. And I want you guys to know that, know your credit numbers, know your credit score. And we can help you to get that score up if it's down. And we can teach you strategies, to help you get your credit score where it needs to be.
Well, that leads us right into what I was getting ready to ask you next, Mia, is how can people connect with you, our listeners here, if they want to get you to come and speak, or if they want to have a consultation with you or anything like that. I want to just put up your information. Mia, I'm speaking with Mia Hawkins and Company, or Mia Hawkins and Co. And her website here is Mia Hawkins and Co. ANDCO. Mia Hawkins ANDCO.com. And I'm
Yes, ma'am.
spelling it out because there's some people who are listening to us on Spotify. But if you're not listening to us on Spotify, if you're not already, rather, subscribe to my YouTube channel, I want to encourage you to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see the spelling of her name and all these banners and things that I'm posting here on the video. But Mia Hawkins and Co.com. You can follow her on Facebook at Mia Hawkins and Company, Mia Hawkins and ampersand CO, and then on IG at Mia Hawkins and CO. Mia Hawkins and CO. I mean, you have been a wealth of knowledge this afternoon today, Mia. I mean, this has really, really, really been rich. This conversation with you has been extremely empowering. And so, are there any services that you offered that you want to share real quickly with the listening audience?
Yes, ma'am. What we do is we try to focus and help you get your life in order, get your credit, get your numbers in order. So if you have any numbers that you're concerned about, whether it's how to get more income, because there are several streams and ways you can do that. If you want to get your expenses in order, if you're looking to get your credit score in order, if you're looking to learn how to invest, because you can't even focus on investing if we don't have these other items in order. But there are ways that we can invest that can help you to increase and plan for the future while still working to get your numbers in order. So contact us. We have these mediums. You're more than welcome to contact us. We look forward to hearing from you, where you can set an appointment and we'll provide you with a consultation, and then you can decide if you'd like to use our services further. So again, you have our information. It's been shared with you by Dr. Tony, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future.
And if you need to reach out to me, those of you that are listening, I can certainly direct you even further. If you missed it and you didn't write it down, go back and rewind the video and write down everything, or rewind the audio and write it down. But you're listening to Harmonize Your Life, Conversations on Self-Care for Women of Color podcast. You can find this podcast on Anchor, Apple, Google, and Spotify. Also, if you are not subscribe to my YouTube channel, I need you to go there, subscribe. Listen, we are working to get our YouTube channel subscribers up. We're over 500 now, which is good for YouTube. It's really hard to grow your subscribers on YouTube unless you're doing something really crazy and outlandish. Now, if I was out here doing some real raunchy stuff, it goes up. But I'm out here trying to help the people, right? I'm just trying to give people some good ways of living healthy and whole and prospering God's way, right? And so, but if you can help us get these conversations out by subscribing to our YouTube channel. When you see this conversation with Mia, share it, like it, comment, and share it with somebody. Everybody knows somebody you yourself and at least 5 other people that need this information. So when we get something, let's share it with our community. That's how we build wealth. That's how we grow our community. That's how we become whole and healthy as a people, because
Yeah.
we perish for the lack of knowledge. And
Amen.
this is a free seminar you're listening to on this podcast. You can go further and deeper into working on your work and doing the work you need to do by hiring Mia, bringing Mia in, and working or coaching, whatever services she has for you. You can do that, but certainly start with listening, taking notes here, and sharing this information with those in your community. I
Yeah.
want to thank you again, Mia, for being our podcast guest for this whole for this month, for the month of April. I had Brandy Gamble on earlier this month. Now you're on. Our whole month of April has been dedicated to financial wellness, and we can talk about some other things we can do, partnering with your work and the Self Care Network. Some
Yes.
other things that we can do, maybe coming together and
Yes,
doing
ma'am.
some hands-on work with those that desire to go deeper in this area or to
Yes, ma'am.
improve their lives in this area. All
Yes.
right. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. One last nugget you want to share as
Well,
we
Dick, I
sign
would
off?
just want to say thank you for having me, Dr. Alvarado. I am so gracious to be here. Anything you need from me, let me know. And like my grandson always says, we have a podcast that we're starting called The Talking Hawkins with my family. And he always says, just like and subscribe. And so I want you guys to make sure that you like and subscribe to Dr. Tony's channel, and let's help her grow as we grow. Amen.
Thank you so much, sis. I appreciate you. I'm so glad to be in this self-care streets with my sister, Mia Hawkins.
Amen. I'm glad to be here too. And we're going to help our sisters to save their coin and get healthy.
All right. Amen.
Okay.
Amen. Well, thank you all again for joining us on the Harmonize Your Life podcast with your host, Dr. Tony G. Alvarado. We'll see you on our next episode in the month of June. We take a break in the month of May, so you get to go back. Season 12 ends with this episode. And after this, we take a little brief hiatus in the month of May, and then we come back in June with brand new episodes. And we'll begin season 13.
Wow.
Right after this. Season 13 will begin in the month of June. That gives you time to go back and listen to February, March, and April, and prepare yourself for season 13 beginning in the month of June. We'll see you soon on the Harmonize Your Life podcast with your host, Dr. Tony G. Alvarado.